What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Connor Garrity on the G-Money041 channel, coming at you with a brand new video today on March 15th, Friday. Happy Friday to everybody watching. This is going to be my preview video to the UFC 158 card, which is happening tomorrow. Main event, of course, is George St. Pierre versus Nick Diaz. I'll get into that later. This is going to be my video on my predictions. Who I think is going to win, who's going to take home the bonuses in the night, and just I'll have an analysis video up tomorrow after the fight. I'll probably have a bunch of people on that video doing it with me, but this right now is just my predictions for the fights, and I'm going to do the 5 main fights on the card. I'm not going to do the undercards or the preliminary cards that are on Facebook and on FX. So first off, let's get right into it. The first fight of the night is going to be Mike Ritchie versus Colin Fletcher. Both fighters I don't know a ton about. I do love MMA, but I don't know a ton about them. Both of them have only had one fight in the UFC each. Both of them lost that fight. So this might be a fight to save their job. Hopefully they'll put on an exciting bout. I don't know much about them. All I know is that Ritchie has fought once in the UFC, lost, and Fletcher has also fought once in the UFC and lost. So we'll see. I'm kind of surprised that they have both of them on the main card, but maybe they'll put on an exciting fight. Hopefully. They're both lightweight, so hopefully they fly around the ring. That's all I can hope for. Next fight, Chris Camozzi versus Nick Ring. I do know about Nick Ring. He's fighting for a job right now in the UFC. He hasn't really beaten any of the top competitors at welterweight. He did win his last fight against Court McGee, but he is moving down to welterweight, if I am right, because Tim Boach was the fight before Court McGee. Oh, this is a middleweight fight. I'm very sorry. This will be an interesting fight. Again, I think the UFC, all they're hoping for in this fight, I don't think this is a contendership fight or to move into the top 5 for either of them at middleweight. Let's face it, neither of these guys are going to be able to even touch Anderson Silva. Let's just be honest. They can't. If you can't beat Tim Boach, you can't beat Anderson Silva. Let's just say that. And of course, Anderson Silva is impossible to beat, in my opinion. He's to me one of the greatest fighters of all time, or if not the greatest. But both of them, we're just hoping for an exciting fight. Again, the bottom 2 cards, I'm not really interested. The top 3 are very interesting. First off, on the top 3, we have Jake Ellenberger versus Nate Marquardt. Now, this will be very interesting. Ellenberger, of course, very big hands, pretty good wrestler. I think he's going to provide a very tough opponent at welterweight. However, he is going up against a very big guy in Nate Marquardt. Ellenberger is 5'10". I think Nate Marquardt's close to 6. He's 6 feet. They list him at. Marquardt, of course, has been in a lot of trouble in the UFC. We've had him get thrown out of the UFC for steroids. We had him going down and up. Couldn't get his weight right. At one point, he made an impact in the middleweight, and now he's down to welterweight. He is a big guy, though. I think at one point he actually, was a big middleweight. He was considered a very big middleweight. So this is a very big cut. I think both of them did make weight, though. Ellenberger, of course, at 5'10", I think it's a little bit easier than him, but he's very, very stocky. The way I see this fight going, and I didn't provide predictions on the first 2 fights because I really don't know much about each of those 2 fights. The way I see this going is I see Ellenberger actually winning with a second round TKO. I like Ellenberger. I've watched a lot of his fights. I love how he throws his hands. I really like guys who can stand up. Has pretty good takedown defense. Also, Marquardt, I think, will try to use his size to bully Ellenberger. I know Marquardt's not the greatest wrestler in the world, but he is a pretty good wrestler. This will be again, I hate to keep saying it, but I think this is a very intriguing fight, to say the least, just because Marquardt will be cutting a lot a lot of weight. We'll have to see how he deals with the cut, and we're also going to have to see how, how this is his return to the UFC. He was in Strikeforce, I think, for the last, he's been in Strikeforce for the last 2 fights. He lost his last fight to Tarek Safadine. He did fight at welterweight for that fight, but this is his first fight in the UFC at welterweight, and he lost that fight in the Strikeforce. So we'll see. Of course, there is no more Strikeforce, so he had to find a home. This might be a fight to see if Nate Marquardt will get a UFC contract for the long term, or if it's just a 1-fight contract. So that'll be interesting. The big fight of the night to me, because I really love the fighter in this fight, is the co-main event, which is Carlos Condit versus Johnny Hendricks, and I see this going the same way that it's gone every fight for my man, Johnny Hendricks. First round TKO, book it. Book it with a left hand to the dome of Carlos Condit. Carlos Condit, if you do not remember, was the former welterweight champion. He was beat down and got the hell beat out of him by George St. Pierre. GSP kicked the crap out of Condit in their last fight for 5 rounds, and that was on his return from ACL surgery. Condit hasn't really impressed me for a while. Ever since I still think he lost his first fight against Diaz. I really did not like how he performed in that fight, so I kind of lost a lot of respect for him. If you didn't watch that fight, he kind of ran away the whole fight. I really didn't like that. I thought that was kind of weak of him. Johnny Hendricks, if you don't know, is the guy just throws bombs. I think all of his fights, the guy is looking for a one-shot knockout, basically. However, people don't realize this about Hendricks. He is an All-American wrestler from Oklahoma State, which has one of the best, if not the best, wrestling program in the nation over the last few years. He is a great wrestler in his own right, and I think he uses that. He's kind of like a Chuck Liddell almost, only a lot smaller, of course. He is a welterweight. But I think he even has maybe even more knockout power. Martin Kampmann is not a guy you can knock out. Martin Kampmann is a guy with an iron jaw, and Johnny Hendricks laid him out and knocked him out cold. John Fitch doesn't have the greatest chin in the world, but he does have a pretty good chin. Johnny Hendricks knocked that guy out quick. Again, very interesting fight for me. Is Carlos Condit going to be able to use his length and his reach to keep Hendricks away? And if Hendricks gets inside, will he be able to deal with the power of Hendricks? Going to be very interesting to see. Of course, again, I am predicting a first-round knockout for Johnny Hendricks. Just because over the last few fights, that's what he does. He just knocks them out in the first round. He might have the most one-punch knockout power in the UFC. Honestly, across the board, pound for pound, he might have the most knockout power. He's incredible. If you haven't watched him before, you'll have fun watching him. You will. Watch the left hand. Just watch the left hand. And, of course, that brings us to, after that fight, the main event. George St. Pierre versus Nick Diaz. A fight a lot of people have been waiting to see. Of course, the first time we tried to get this fight, Nick Diaz never showed up to a press conference. Dana White called the fight, called it off. A lot of fans, including myself, are very disappointed. Nick Diaz did everything he was asked to do this time. He was basically all I heard he was asked to do is show up to one interview, and that was it. Just one, and that's it. You're good. Guy is an extreme head case. Nick Diaz, extreme head case. Guy could go off at any second. But from what I've heard about what he's done this week, yesterday he called GSP roided and kept saying how roided up GSP is in an interview on the radio. I heard he has been stalking GSP around the hotel, yelling obscenities at him. And from what all indications point to, GSP wants to kill Nick Diaz. He wants to end Nick Diaz. He wants to retire Nick Diaz. He wants to lay a beating down on him. that bad. However, I do not see that happening. That doesn't mean that I don't think GSP is going to win, because actually I think he will win the fight. What I mean is GSP is one of the calmest, most collected fighters we have ever seen. He does not let his emotions get in the way of him winning a fight. GSP is very level-headed. He knows how to use his jab. He will know how to pepper Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz his strategy, I think, will of course be try. He'll just be going to try and beat the crap out of GSP. The Diaz brothers are very predictable. Slap boxing and jiu-jitsu if they need it. That's what they do. Slap boxing and jiu-jitsu. That's their game plan. They're not going to take you down in most cases. They're just going to try and box. If they get down on the ground, they're going to use their jiu-jitsu to get back up or try and submit you. That's just the Diaz way, basically. We saw in the Benson Henderson fight. Shout out to the Uncut Sports Show. Love you guys. We did see a blueprint, as they put it, on how to beat Nick Diaz in the Benson Henderson fight when he fought little brother Nate. Benson Henderson killed Nate Diaz for 5 rounds, beat the hell out of him, just beat him like a sack of potatoes. I'm interested to see if GSP does the same thing. I feel that he will, just because GSP is extremely smart. The Greg Jackson camp will have him prepared, will have him trained, and will be ready for anything Nick Diaz throws at them, which more than likely is not going to... I don't see him pulling out any surprises. Let's just put it that way. I don't see Nick Diaz doing something surprising. I think he's going to stick to the game plan that's gotten him there. I think he's going to just try and shit talk the whole time against GSP, and hopefully it works out. I know what Nick Diaz is doing, and he's trying to get into the mind of GSP. I have a feeling GSP is not going to let it get to him. He's going to be calm, collected. Pop, pop, back away. Pop, pop, back away. 1 minute left. Takedown. Hold him down for a minute. Rinse, repeat. Just going to repeat the whole for 5 rounds and thoroughly embarrass Nick Diaz. I do see GSP winning in a 5-round decision. And with that, folks, this is going to end the video. Thank you all for watching. Comment with your thoughts on the fight card, your predictions of how the fights are going to go, especially the Carlos Condit, Johnny Hendricks fight, and the George St. Pierre, Nick Diaz fight. I'm Connor Garrity. You have been watching the G-Money041 channel. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good business. Shout out again to the Uncut Sports Show. Love you guys. Love y'all. Love y'all show. Love y'all show. Thank you again. Thank you for watching. Remember, the is part of the name, like The Ohio State University, but unlike them, I do not suck. I will be coming with a result episode right after the fight card. I will have all the results, and I will give my analysis on the fights. Comment if you want me to do any other videos. If there's a topic you want me to talk about in sports or anything else, I will do that. I think this is going to be a very good fight card. I think everyone should have a very enjoyable time with this fight card. And with that, again, thank you all for watching the G-Money041 channel with your boy, Connor Garrity. Thank you. Much love to everybody watching and liking what I'm doing. And with that, I'm going to hit you with the peace.